When it comes to Disney, our first instinct is to think about the romance and happily ever afters, right? But let's not forget that our favorite heroes often have to overcome obstacles, challenges, and even fight some iconic villains. Some of these villains are so evil they are still burned into our brains. Want to know which ones we wish we could forget? Watch our video and find out. While you're here, don't forget to hit subscribe and stay up to date with all things Screen Rant. But before we get started, can you guess what movie these emojis are showing? Stay tuned until the end of the video to find out.
It's finally ready!
Syndrome. In a time where superhero films are reigning supreme, we can't help but reminisce about one of our favorite Disney films, The Incredibles. The 2004 film was a smash hit among Disney fans, both kids and adults. What was so special about this film? It was about heroes, yes, but it was also about family and the sense of belonging and being part of a family. But one of the most memorable and creepy characters in this film was the tenacious and resentful villain, Syndrome. He is one of the ultimate testaments that villains are made, not born. Syndrome's hatred was built when all he wanted to do was be Mr. Incredible's sidekick, but was rejected instead. Holding on to a grudge for years, this young boy grows up, becomes filthy rich, and exterminates all of the superheroes out there, until he makes it to his main target, Mr. Incredible. He built several versions of his Omnidroid and tested it on other heroes. Each version was stronger than the next, learning from its prior opponent. Although Syndrome ultimately perishes, kids should forget this super creepy and evil villain, because the more you analyze how ruthless he is, the more terrifying he becomes.
Anita, darling!
Cruella De Vil. When we think of Disney's canine film, 101 Dalmatians, we immediately think of the adorable spotted puppies, right? Another thing this film reminds us of is one of the most iconic villains in Disney history with the catchiest songs. If she doesn't scare you, no evil thing will. It's spooky fashionista herself, Cruella De Vil. She graced our childhood nightmares with her emaciated and skeletal appearance. And her eyes are certainly ones you've seen watching you from underneath a rock, or so the song tells us. She was, after all, like a spider waiting for the kill. She's completely unlikable from the get-go, as she storms into Anita's house with her gross cigarette smoke and mocking everything in the home. Her home even looks like a modern hell, with all of the red and black decorations. But her appearance and complete disregard for those around her isn't what's scary about her. It's her obsessions and how far she goes to get what she wants, even if that means buying and puppy-napping Dalmatians to turn them into fur coats. Who would want to hurt puppies? A totally evil villain, that's who. Cruella should be totally wiped from your mind for her devilish tendencies. Chernabog. The beautiful Disney film Fantasia is mostly remembered for its gorgeous animation sequences set to an equally lovely soundtrack. The moving images blend seamlessly to the musical compositions they are paired with. However, there is a particular part of the 1940 film called Night on Bald Mountain, which is absolutely terrifying. Now, you might be wondering, what could possibly be so scary about a cartoon and some classical music? Well, we have your answer, and it is a devil that goes by the name Chernabog. This huge demon only appears at night, giving us many reasons to still fear the dark. This demon is the stuff of childhood nightmares come to life. Complete with a chilling musical composition of the same title, the scary animation is full of nightmarish sequences full of ghosts and hell's fire. We dare you to watch this and not find it at all remotely terrifying. Casting shadows and summoning ghosts and skeletons from the graveyards, this giant winged demon surrounds everything in evil shadows and fire. If that's not spooky enough, how about his glowing yellow eyes, sharp claws, and large wings? Those are some things we wish we could forget. Hopefully, he hasn't completely invaded your dreams.
Let us hope so. I'll need those witless peasants to dig up my gold, won't I?
Governor Ratcliffe. Disney's Pocahontas taught us to stop, look, and listen. We learned that we have to understand our fellow living beings and look at things from their perspective. Aside from the insightful knowledge, the film also gave us one of the most realistic and despicable villains. Governor John Ratcliffe is a man motivated purely by greed and his desire for power, money, and the status that comes with it. He cares about nothing and no one else, except for maybe his equally spoiled pooch, Percy. Percy is totally adorable and later changes his tune, unlike Ratcliffe, who stays motivated and evil through and through. Ratcliffe wants gold so much that he is willing to kill for it and destroy anything and anyone in his path. He also had his men chop down trees and dig holes left and right, not even bothering to lend a hand. How rude. But what makes him the worst is his total xenophobia. In the end, however, his greediness and selfishness leads to his downfall, and he is chained up and loaded onto the boat in which they came from. Ratcliffe is definitely one of the nastiest villains Disney has ever made.
The axiom you will survive.
I don't want to survive! I want to live!
Must follow my directive.
Otto. In the futuristic and dystopian film WALL-E, we see a world of trash left behind by gluttonous humans. In this bleak and dirty world, we meet the lovable trash-compacting robot, WALL-E, who finds beauty in everything. His routine is quickly disrupted when Eve comes into the world and finds a plant. Fast forward to their journey back up to the space station where humans are now living. It's been a couple hundred years since humans have left the planet in disarray and have grown accustomed to literally sitting and watching screens in front of them. When WALL-E and Eve take the plant up to the captain and try to start the process to bring humans back to Earth, Otto the autopilot steps in to stop them. Otto is a cross between a pirate ship Helm and the control computer HAL in 2001: A Space Odyssey, which makes him even scarier. However, Otto was programmed by a human who started the process of trashing Earth, which makes us question who the real villain is. Is it really the scary robot who spooked children, or is it really humans creating their own demise? Now that is something to think about.
You killed her. It was my duty, horrible as it was.
Judge Claude Frollo. One of the most underrated and darkest Disney films of all time is The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Yep. This film is actually pretty gruesome, especially considering one of the main characters, Judge Claude Frollo. This villain is true evil, and one children should definitely purge from their young minds. What makes him so evil? Well, for starters, his pure hatred of gypsies. He considers them to be lowly insects who should be squashed. Talk about evil. In the beginning of the film, his hatred causes the death of Quasimodo's mother and almost of baby Quasimodo himself. But for some reason, he saves the baby but locks him away in Bell Tower of Notre Dame where no one can see him. Doesn't sound too much better, does it? He then ends up falling for, or rather completely obsessing over, Esmeralda, which of course causes him a ton of self-hatred because of his lustful thoughts of the young gypsy. And we need not remind you, he hates gypsies. He also breaks into one of the most horrifyingly beautiful monologue songs, Hell's Fire, about this very scenario. And when he's looking for the hiding Esmeralda, he is willing to burn down the entire city of Paris to find her. Creepy much? We think he might be a bit too evil for kids.
Where's my food?
Hopper. When it comes to bugs, we either appreciate them or run from them. However, thanks to the film A Bug's Life, we all learn to love ants and bugs. Except for when they swarm on your food, then they just get greedy. But for the sake of this film, the ants are a lovable and hardworking community. Among them is the awkward and clumsy yet brilliant inventor Flick. Although he is initially rejected by his community, he comes to be hailed as a hero in the end and becomes revered within the ant community. This seems like an amazing and wholesome film about not being prejudiced and believing in yourself, right? Yeah, it is. But it also has a darker side, especially when it comes to its villain, a selfish, cruel, and very aggressive grasshopper named Hopper. He and the other grasshoppers have an oppressive rule over the ants. Hopper specializes in emotionally and verbally abusing the ants, as well as threatening them with violence. He's pretty much an overgrown bully, so to speak. Don't worry, the ants fight back and Hopper gets his comeuppance. However, although he's just a bug, his persona is still pretty scary for young kids, especially when he physically hurts Flick. It's almost too real. Maleficent. We couldn't have made a list about Disney villains without including one of the scariest ever. One of the original baddies that we wish we could have expunged from our childhood nightmares was the original mistress of evil herself, Maleficent. Now we know she might not seem too scary, but as a kid she is downright terrifying. She is a woman who doesn't get invited to a party and gets so upset that she curses a baby. Not just any curse, but essentially a death sentence. Although Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather intervene and help out the best they can, Maleficent finds a way to keep ruining things. She goes as far as to lock up Prince Philip away until he's really old so that he could try and wake the princess then, if he could even make it. It seems like she relishes in long, drawn-out torture. But what really spooked us was when she summons all the powers of hell and turns into a giant fire-breathing dragon. The snapping jaws, green fire, and sheer size of her in comparison to Prince Philip still gives us the creeps. This is definitely one villain who we wish we could forget.
You won't get away with this.
Oh, I already have.
Prince Hans. Oh, the sweet prince of the Southern Isles had us completely enamored with his duet with Princess Anna. Love is an open door. In Disney's film Frozen, it seems as though Queen Elsa is going to be the clear villain in the film, but it turns out she's just a scared young woman trying to figure herself out and let things go. So who is the real villain in this story? Don't all fairy tales need a villain? In the end, it turns out to be Hans, as he had planned to take over and rule the kingdom. Why is he the villain? Well, aside from trying to kill Elsa and leaving Anna to die, he committed one of the worst crimes ever. He lied to us. Disney is huge on love at first sight and even singing songs about it. Hans sang a love song and we believed him, especially because it was a duet. We were so excited for him to be the good guy like the prince is in most Disney films. But alas, we are happy that the sister of Arendelle rescued each other and didn't need Hans. He was a mediocre villain at best, and the girls don't need that kind of negativity in their lives. Strike him from your mind, kids, because you don't either.
You want me to be the bad guy? Fine.
Mother Gothel. Tangled is another Disney fairy tale, but like Frozen, this one features a sassy princess. This film is a loose adaptation of the fairy tale Rapunzel, and we love the changes. One of the things about this film is that there isn't really a major threat, although there is a clear villain. Mother Gothel is totally the baddie in this film, but she's not constantly out for revenge or money. She just wants to stay young. It's not too bad, right? Unless you count the fact that she kidnapped Princess Rapunzel when she was a baby and has kept her locked and hidden in a tower. Sure, she's taken care of Rapunzel and kept her alive and well, but it's for selfish reasons. It's all because Rapunzel received magic powers from the flower Mother Gothel was using to keep herself young. Now she only takes care of Rapunzel and her hair because it keeps her young. She stops at nothing. She even ends up stabbing Flynn Rider when he tries to save Rapunzel. And because she's a little extra ruthless, she also tied him up. Although in the end, Flynn is saved by magic tears, she technically killed him. All of this for youth and beauty? Best to not keep this villain in your databank, kids. Extreme vanity is not the way to go. Well, there you have it. That's some of the most atrocious baddies in the Disney world. Which ones did we miss? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. Before you go, the answer to our emoji quiz is... Did you get it right? Let us know. Thanks for watching.